Okay, so we are back with our continuation of the previous video. We finished off with iterative functions. So today we will see what is recursive functions. Recursion is a way wherein something calls itself again and again to finish off a certain task. So this slide that you see over here, it's taken up from the internet. If you see over here, this is our main. In the main we have a function call. The function call is recurse. Recurse calls the function recurse, and again within that we have another function call. So a function which calls itself, so here and here, a function which calls itself is called as recursion. So let us see how recursion works. In the iterative functions, we computed the factorial of a number using iterative functions, right? So here we will compute the factorial of a number. Again I take example as 5, and this we will be doing using recursion. So to compute the factorial of 5, you see that first you will have to do 5 into 4 factorial. Then 4 factorial is evaluated as 4 into 3 factorial. 3 factorial is evaluated as 3 into 2 factorial, and so on. So if you see again and again, I am making use of the factorial function here. So factorial keeps calling itself umpteen times till it reaches a certain condition. What do we call the condition wherein it has to stop? The condition wherein it has to stop is called as the base condition. So whenever you are doing recursion, you need to understand that you have to place your base condition in place, and it has to be correct. If you do not have your base condition placed, then your implementation of the function is not going to stop, and it's going to happen several times, those times which will not be even needed, and you will get funny answers. So what do I exactly mean when I say a function calls itself? Now for 5 into 4 factorial to happen, 5 factorial box is opened. Assume this is a box, and within that we have another box. That box is 4 factorial. Now I open up the 4 factorial box, and in this box I find a 3 factorial box. I open up this 3 factorial box, and in that I find another box which is 2 factorial. I open up this 2 factorial box, and I find another box which is 1 factorial. I open up this box, and that is where I have to stop. So there was one box within another, and I wouldn't be able to evaluate the final answer if I had to not open up this 1 factorial box. So the 1 factorial box has an answer which will help me evaluate the 2 factorial box. Once I evaluate the green and the red box, these two have the answers which will help me evaluate 3 factorial box. Once these 3 are implemented or opened up, this then it helps me evaluate 4 factorial, and so on so forth. So when I went on opening the boxes, I went on making as many required recursive function calls. Mind you, the opening up of the boxes only helped me pipe up the recursion calls. They were not evaluating. So 5 factorial called 4 factorial, 4 factorial called 3 factorial, 3 factorial called 2 factorial, 2 factorial called 1 factorial, and in this entire implementation there is no evaluation happening. So opening up does not contribute to any evaluation happening till you reach the base case. Once you reach the base case, that is the final box, that will give you an answer. Now this answer 1 is used here because 1 factorial is 1. Now we get 2 factorial answer from here. So we implement this and up the box. So that is upside, ulta, we do the computation. So what is this opening up of boxes in analogy 2? In computer language, when you open up the boxes, you open up one box and keep it at the side. Okay? Then you open up the blue box and put the blue box on the yellow box. Then you open up the orange box, put the orange box on. So you're stacking up all the boxes every time you open them. So recursive function calls are in analogy to stacking up of the boxes. So you are only stacking up over here, which is called as the push operation of a stack. So every time you open a box, if you see over here, first is the yellow box, then is the blue box, then is the orange box, then is the red box, then is the green box. However, which assume this yellow is this one which we are opened and stacked up. Then we are opening the blue and we are stacking it up again here. Then we are opening up the orange and so on so forth. We are stacking up. Again we are stacking up. Again we are stacking up till we reach the base case. So this is called as a push operation, and this entire figure that you see over here is referred to as the stack. Once you reach the base case, you stop. Therefore, whenever you are writing a recursion problem, you have to put your base case in place. Once you reach the base case, you stop. Mind you, while you are stacking up, you are not doing any evaluation. You are just going on calling the function in a chain-like manner. So the yellow call the blue call the orange call the red call the green, and then you stop. Now, because you've reached a base case, you are in a position to evaluate the entire chain. So the base case gives a return of 1. Now because of this 1, we can evaluate the red box. Now the red box is popped out and we can now compute 2 into 1. Now the orange box is popped out and you can now compute 3 into 2. Now after this answer is given to the blue box. Now the blue box is popped and now you get an answer 24. Now 24 will serve as an answer to the yellow box and help in the yellow box's evaluation. Therefore, you get 5 into 4 factorial, which was evaluated because of the blue box, and you get a final answer of 120. Now this what you saw, the green coming out first, evaluated, then the red coming out later, evaluated, then the yellow coming out, evaluated. One by one, each element of the stack coming out, ulta in the direction of which it had got in, is referred to as a pop operation. The final answer now is given back to the main function, from where there was a call to the factorial function. So I hope you've understood the push and the pop operation. So let's see the code to write this program. So this is my main and I am hard coding a value over here to number, and that value is 5, and this Z I'm using to hold the answer of 120. I'm using a function, the name of the function called as facto, and this is a function call, however which there is no function definition that I have written at the moment. So let's do it. So because this is going to be returning something and recursion has to return you something, the return type over here will be integer, and you're dealing with integer kind of numbers, so this data type is also integer. Now this is enough space for you to put in the function definition. Let's see how you put the function definition over here. Whenever you are writing a recursion function, point number 1, always remember that you have to put your base case in place. If you don't do this, you will write a very faulty code. So the base case that we saw was somewhere it is going to stop when the number will be equal to 1. So I cannot say equal to 1 in that case, or if you use 1 equal to, it's a wrong coding line of code. So you will have to say number equal to 1. So this is a condition, so you will have to put it in the bracket and then use your if. So if number is equal to 1, that means you're computing factorial of 1. What is going to be the answer? Answer is going to be 1. So you're going to be returning 1. However, which? If it is not so, then what? Else. Else, what will you return? You have to return something in recursion manner. Alright. So recursion is wherein you will be using a function here called as facto, where facto will again call facto and give us the final answer. So you have to use recursion, because of which now you will be putting a code in place. But how do you come to the final answer? So let's see. If you notice from the previous diagram, you are computing the factorial of 5, but for 5 you need 4 factorial computed. Then 5 becomes 4. So somewhere you have to manage that you're doing num minus minus or num minus 1. Then you're computing 3 factorial, then you're computing 2 factorial. So first you started with 5 factorial, 5 factorial turned to 4 factorial, 4 factorial turned to 3 factorial. So every time you see, you are talking to the number at hand and then you're computing the factorial of 1 minus of that number. So this factorial sign means that you're using the factorial function. So if you come to a general deduction from this, I think you will figure out that this is the number on which you are operating at that point of time, and this is number minus 1. What are you doing of number minus 1? You are computing facto. So if you notice here, I have facto, here also I have facto. Facto is calling itself again and again. So when I am talking to 5, when number is 5, I am computing factorial of 4. So when I am talking to 4, I am computing factorial of 3. When I am talking to 3, I am computing factorial of 2. When I am talking to 2, I am computing factorial of 1. So on, so forth. So here there is a multiplication sign. Make sure you put that. Alright. And this is what you are going to return. So based on what I know I am supposed to be doing, and I have a trace of how I am going to be doing it, I just put this in place. So I will be returning number into facto of number minus 1. Mind you, this does not get evaluated. This is when this goes into a chain of function calls, and once it stops, that is once it reaches facto of 1, this is going to return 1. Then the 1 will serve as an answer here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then this will return 120. This 120, this which returns, is thrown to Z over here. So if you want to see the proper code, this is going to be how it is. Return number into factorial of number minus 1. First time the number is 5. So you are going to make a function call which says 5 into 4 factorial. Then this 4 again goes and sits here because it was 4 factorial in the previous case. So 4 factorial now goes and says 4 into 3 factorial. Now 3 factorial goes and says 3 into 2 factorial. Now 2 factorial goes and says 2 into 1 factorial. And now since 1 is equal to 1, this is going to return 1 over here and help in the evaluation of the other steps, and therefore this is then going to return 120 as your final answer because of this return, the blue return. So if you notice, this return final 120 is returned back here, and I have taken care of the base by saying my number is equal to 1. So you may try implementing this code with proper prototyping and check whether you get the right answer. Now let's see how you implement recursion for Fibonacci. So we know that the Fibonacci series is 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, ... That is, the third number is the result of addition of the previous two, and then the next number is a result of the addition of the previous two. So 3 is a result of addition of 2 plus 1, 5 is a result of addition of 3 plus 2, so on, so forth. Now you need to compute the Fibonacci of Fibonacci series using recursion. So fib of 1, that is the first term, fib of first term is 0, fib of second term is 1, fib of 3 is 1, fib of 4 is 2, fib of 5 is 3, fib of 6 is 5. Why? Because addition of 2 and 3. Similarly, fib of 7 is 8. Now say that you need to compute Fibonacci of 7 using recursion. You already know that if you have to compute Fibonacci of 7, that is up to the 7th term, it is going to be 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. Fib of 7 is computed as fib of 6 plus fib of 5. Okay, so you have to show the Fibonacci series up to fib of 7. That means you have to show 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5 and 8. How are you going to do it? So to do it using recursion, we need to understand that fib of 7 is computed with the help of fib of 6 and fib of 5. So you make a call to fib of 6 and fib of 5. Again, fib of 6 is going to make a call to fib of 5 and fib of 4. Similarly, over here, fib of 5 is split further to fib of 4 and fib of 3. Again here, fib of 5 is split to fib of 4 and fib of 3, and fib of 4 is split to fib of 3 and fib of 2. So fib of 4 is split to fib of 3 and fib of 2, and now this fib of 4 is split to fib of 3, fib of 2, and this fib of 3 is split to fib of 2 and fib of 1. This tree, this is called as a tree, these are called as the children, this is called as the root. You have to go on splitting it till it splits no further until you come to a final answer. So obviously fib of 3 will be split further, fib of 2 has a final answer, right? So for example, you can see here this fib of 3 is split to fib of 2 and fib of 1. Similarly, it will be done here. Similarly, you can do the splitting here. Here I have just written split further because I want you to concentrate only on one side at the moment. Now fib of 2 and fib of 1, they have answers. Fib of 2 also has an answer. So fib of 2 has returned us 1. When you computing fib of 2, it returns you 1. When you are computing this fib of 2, it returns you 1. Similarly, when you are computing fib of 1, it returns 0. So on so forth. Wherever you see fib of 2, it returns 1. Wherever you see fib of 1, it returns 0. So we go on doing that and putting our answers. So for your sake of solving at home, you may split this on a bigger, you can use a bigger sheet and try and split it and check what you're going to get by splitting fib of 4, fib of 3. You need to stop whenever you reach an element as fib of 2 and fib of 1 because you have answers for that. Till you do not have answers, you go on splitting. So now, because we have here as our elements or answers as 1 and 0, I can climb up this way and I can climb up this way and compute fib of 3 as 1 because fib of 3 is fib of 2 plus fib of 1. So assumed is a plus here. So 1 and 0, 1. Similarly, fib of 2 gives me an answer of 1. So I can compute fib of 4 as fib of 3 which was computed because of fib of 2 and fib of 1 and fib of 2. So I can compute fib of 4 as 2, right? Now here also in the same manner the tree has been split and you will be getting an answer 1. Climb up, you will be getting answer 3. Climb up, you will be getting 2. Climb up, you will be getting 6. Finally, you will be getting 8. Now to compute fib of 7, we made a recursive call to fib of 6 and fib of 5. To compute fib of 6, we made a recursive call to fib of 5 and fib of 4. However, at this point of time, the evaluation is not done. Evaluation only gets done once we reach the base. The base in this case is fib of 2 and fib of 1. We have two bases over here. Okay. So after you reach these two bases and you get their answers, then you move up for evaluation. That is when your Fibonacci exactly happens using recursion. So to compute the Fibonacci of n, I can generalize. I will be using fib of n minus 1 plus fib of n minus 2. And here the base condition is that fib of 1 is 0 and fib of 2 is equal to 1. That is, if n equal to 1, return 0. If n equal to 2, return 1. So you will have to play with your base cases exactly in the same fashion. So here I have put in an example for Fibonacci using recursion. So here I am computing the Fibonacci up to 10. Okay. So 10 as in 10 numbers in the series. But if you see over here, I have put my base cases in place. I am using my Fibonacci recursion, fib of n minus 1 plus fib of n minus 2. So this is going to stop with respect to these base cases. However, this only gives me an answer of 34. Let's see another example. Here I am computing Fibonacci up to 3, like 3 terms in the Fibonacci series. In this case, it was 10 terms in the Fibonacci series. 3 terms in the Fibonacci series means 0, 1, 1. But this one only returns me 1. There is the continuation code over here, but this one only returns me 1. Why? Again, over here I am trying to compute the Fibonacci series of 5 terms. So 0, 1, 1, 2 and 3. But this one only gives me the 5th term, that is the last term. It does not give me the series. So how do I look up on that. Even over here, this Fibonacci with value 5 terms in the series gives me an answer of 3. Again, why is that so? That's because I am only printing the last term of the Fibonacci series. I am not looping it. Because I am not looping it, I am not getting the correct answer. Alright, so I have to take care of that. Now, if you see over here, process exited after 0.3868 seconds with return value 2. Why is this return value 2? This return value 2 is because the printf statement returns to the main an answer which is there in the accumulator register. So if you see over here, I have 2 characters that I have printed out. So in this case, the return value will be 2% and D. Now over here, if you see, I am still using 5 and I am getting the series. There is no change that I have done to my Fibonacci function, but all I am doing is everywhere where I use the statement at line number 11, previous case also line number 11, previous case also line number 11, all line number 11s that I use my printf, that I am putting in a for loop now. So till I reach that number 5 for loop, I am printing the series. So with this, you can print your entire Fibonacci series using recursion. I hope this is understood now. This is very simple. It's fib of n minus 1 plus fib of n minus 2 taking care of my base cases. Now how do you do power of a number using recursion? This is my main function wherein I am saying 2 raised to 5, that is 2 comma 5. When will you be stopping? You will be stopping, so you will need to put your base case in place. Base case in place as in if your index ever reaches 0, right? Okay. So if your index ever reaches 0, I am treating B to be my index, then I have to return 1. But if my index is greater than 0, what am I going to return? I will always multiply the base, that is my 2 raised to 5. So 2 into 2 raised to 4, then 2 raised to 3, then 2 raised to 2. So if you see, every time I am keeping my base common, same, and I am going on reducing the exponent, so b minus 1. So this is how I am going to compute the power of a number using recursion. You may also try returning sum of numbers using recursion, sum of n natural numbers using recursion. You may also try that. So with this, I have come to the end of computing power of a number, factorial of a number and Fibonacci using recursion, and I have demonstrated examples on recursive functions. We've also seen what are recursive functions. Hoping you've got through this. Thank you.